Welcome to your friendly neighborhood historian, where we discuss just enough history to inform, intrigue, and entertain. I'm Bill Petro. The history of Christmas Eve and the Battle of the Bulge 80 years ago. On Christmas Eve in 1944, my father, Staff Sergeant John Petro, entered the front line of World War II at Strasbourg, along with the 42nd Rainbow Infantry Division in 20-degree weather. He was part of 3 regiments that were hurried to France from training without the rest of their divisional support units, expecting to spend time in a quiet sector to learn the ropes of combat. But it was not to be quiet. 8 days earlier, the Battle of the Bulge had begun. The 42nd Division, along with others, supplied much-needed reinforcements to the most extensive and bloodiest battle of World War II that involved American forces. 61,000 Americans, 55,000 British, and 72,000 Free French troops were engaged in this one battle. The German Wacht am Rhein, or Watch on the Rhine offensive, began a week before my father arrived. By Christmas Eve, the American troops at the Battle of the Bulge had taken heavy casualties, and reinforcements were invaluable. The bad weather had weakened the American supply lines. The winter of 1944 was one of the coldest in recorded history. Temperatures averaged 20 degrees Fahrenheit, which was 20 to 30 degrees below normal. Frostbite and trench foot were rampant. Of all the uniformed American troops in the world at this time, 1/8 of them took part in the Battle of the Bulge. When my father arrived at the town of Strasbourg, which is located on the French-German border, it had just been liberated from Nazi control by the French 2nd Armored Division only a month previously. During the war, the Nazis had occupied and transformed the town into a German town for 4 years, from 1940 to 1944. The French had begun evacuating it in 1939, when war was declared upon Germany by France and England following the German attack on Poland. Here's the story of the 42nd Infantry Division. My father was 23 when he arrived in Strasbourg on Christmas Eve in 1944. The 42nd Rainbow Division had landed from New York on a troop ship, a converted freighter, at the southern French port of Marseille on December the 9th. They were called Task Force Linden, under the command of Brigadier General Henning Linden. As part of the U.S. 7th Army, they marched from the Mediterranean coast to the German-held French region of Alsace in 2 weeks. The 42nd Division took up a 31-mile sector along the Rhine River defensive lines. My father's 232nd Infantry Regiment was stationed at Gamsheim along the Rhine, about 12 miles northeast of Strasbourg. They exchanged machine gun fire with the Germans on Christmas Day. The Germans tried to send a boat across the Rhine River, but they were turned back by automatic weapons fire. From there, on December 26th, some of the 42nd Division would move north and west to the Battle of the Bulge. Others moved to the major battle Operation Northwind, which is sometimes called the other Battle of the Bulge, to prevent the Germans from smashing through the Alsace-Lorraine region in January of 1945. The rest of the 42nd Division moved east to continue through Germany. The 42nd Rainbow Division was the first in its corps to enter Germany, first to penetrate the Siegfried Line, and first into Munich, Germany. Though the Rainbow Division only fought for 106 days during the war, German soldiers came to respect the Rainbow Division and fear its patrols and raids. One German soldier inquired, after he was captured, "Is your division a part of Roosevelt's SS?" The 42nd Division was among the first to liberate over 30,000 inmates of the Dachau concentration camp. The next day, following that liberation, my father captured the Nazi general in charge of the anti-aircraft artillery stationed in South Munich. Back to the Battle of the Bulge, why was it called that? Adolf Hitler's offensive intended to smash through Allied lines in the Ardennes forest in Belgium and race to the Atlantic coast, almost 300 miles. This strategy had worked before, when the Nazis had broken through French lines and cornered British forces on the coastal town of Dunkirk, forcing a massive sea evacuation from the continent back to England. This time, Hitler believed it would take 2 weeks for the Americans to coordinate a response with the British to his attack. He hoped to split the Allied forces and close the port of Antwerp, the largest port held by the Allies on the continent, by using a bulge from Germany through Belgium. The German attack came as a complete surprise. The Nazis made progress for almost 3 weeks. They vastly outnumbered the Allies, with over 400,000 of Germany's best troops committed. But by the turn of the new year of 1945, the Allied front became stable, supply lines firmed up, and reinforcements swelled the U.S. troops to 600,000, with 400,000 supporting them. General Eisenhower, Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Force, used all the troops at his disposal, recognizing the enormity of the impending Battle of the Bulge. In his order, dated December 22, 1944, he said, "But we cannot be content with this mere repulse. By rushing out from his fixed defenses, the enemy may give us the chance to turn his great gamble into his worst defeat. So I call upon every man of all the Allies to rise now to new heights of courage. With unshakable faith in the cause for which we fight, we will, with God's help, go forward to our greatest victory." The German commander, Heinrich Freiherr von Luttweiss, demanded the American troops surrender at the town of Bastogne. The U.S. Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe replied, "To the German commander, nuts." Signed, the American commander. Many other divisions participated, including the famed 101st Airborne Division, popularized by Easy Company in the HBO TV series Band of Brothers. By the end of January, the Allied forces had captured all ground previously taken by the German troops in this area. Prime Minister Winston Churchill said, "This is undoubtedly the greatest American battle of the war and will, I believe, be regarded as an ever-famous American victory." The Battle of the Bulge was the last major German offensive campaign along the Western Front in Germany during World War II. It lasted nearly 40 days, until January 25, 1945. But the price was dear. There were about 90,000 American casualties, including 19,000 killed, over 47,000 wounded, and 23,000 missing or captured. Of all American casualties in World War II, this represented a tenth of the total number. The motto of the 42nd Rainbow Division is, "Never forget." Here's a personal reflection. At this time every year, the movie White Christmas reminds me of this battle, as it too opens on Christmas Eve, 1944, with Bing Crosby and Danny Kaye as U.S. soldiers at an advanced enemy position. My father told me just one story of his time in that area that I can share only in part. He and his squad had hunkered down and camped at night in the snow. They defended their patch of land as American soldiers around them fell in battle. My father is gone now. Of the 16 million U.S. soldiers who served in World War II, Perhaps 60,000 remain. We lose about 300 daily. So this is my Christmas wish for you. On this Christmas Eve, 80 years later, remember to hold your dear ones close in the warmth of your love. Thank you for listening. I'm Bill Petro, your friendly neighborhood historian. You can find more details on this topic and others on my website at billpetro.com.